Good afternoon. Welcome to all to this second round of Trace's Classic Training. Welcome to all the food business operators in attendance, the MII and IBEC representatives, the Food Safety Authority of Ireland representatives, local authority veterinary inspectors and DAFM staff. My name is Peter Marr. I'm the Head of Division of Veterinary Public Health Implementation Division, whose veterinary and technical staff you will have met working in DAFM approved plants. The purpose of this webinar is to enable you as food business operators to be better prepared for UK controls on products of animal origin on October the 1st. October the 1st is looming, it's not that far away, and in the absence of any agreement with the UK, they will require export certification from that date. And so this training is also to facilitate a smoother transition to export health certification and to ameliorate any difficulties that may arise thereafter. We in DAFM are in the middle of some certification trials which are proving very interesting. One of the big learning outcomes so far is that Traces is not very iterative, and people do need to get familiar with the operation of the system, which of course is the purpose of the training. So some housekeeping. This webinar will finish at 4:30. After this introduction, Lorna Meany, Head of the Veterinary International Trade, will give an overview. Following on from that, there will be Trace's Classic identifying correct export health certification for specific products and also how to find CN codes. Kevin Williams from the Traces division will give that. Following on from that, there's the familiarization with requirements for third country imports. Michael Moore from my division will give that talk, and then the Trace Classic administrative guidance for the suite of export health certificates verified by official veterinarians. Gerard McCulloch, again from my division, will give that presentation. There will be an opportunity to ask questions after the presentations have been delivered. You can ask questions via the chat function on the control panel. All questions will be answered with information that is currently available, either during the webinar if time permits, or in written replies afterwards. In due course, all who are registered attended will receive written replies to all questions posed during the webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the DAFM YouTube channel and links to the Traces page of the gov.ie website. All who are registered attended will also receive these links in due course. You will have received a document with your invitation, which is a list of CN codes found within Traces. I would urge you to be familiar with these CN codes in preparation for UK controls on products of animal origin due to come into force from October the 1st. In particular, familiar with the 4-digit CN code that could be linked to your specific commodities or products. Due to current issues with the Traces program, in almost all cases, the 8-digit CN codes are currently not functional. We are in the process of trying to get the European Commission to actually put the resources necessary into the Traces to make sure that they are functional. For vets in attendance of this webinar, it has been approved for 2 VCI CVE points. DAFM Learning and Development Unit will issue CVE certs to all the vets attending. Further Traces training will be organised in due course and in advance of October the 1st. Okay, so without further ado, I'll hand you over to Lorna Meany, the Head of Veterinary International Trade. Thanks, Lorna.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lorna Meany and I'm the Head of Division in Veterinary Export Certification and International Trade. Just to say, this is a really important part of our preparation for Brexit certification, this webinar today, for products of animal origin starting on the 1st of October. Traces is the platform that will be used to generate most export health certificates other than dairy to GB from the 1st of October. And it is intended that in the latter quarter of 2021, Traces Classic, which is the platform we are training on today, will migrate to Traces new technology, an updated version of this system. The Commission have indicated that this new system will not be operational for exports prior to the 17th of October, but they haven't confirmed the date on which the new system will go live. So prior to the rollout of Traces NT, training on this new platform will also be organised, just to assure you of that. Now, you should, however, at this stage be registered both as food business operators and as users on Traces Classic. Don't leave this till the last minute or until the 1st of October. You need to be engaging with the system now to be in a position to use it efficiently and effectively on the 1st of October. Today, we are concentrating solely on Traces Classic and being able to recognise CN codes, link them to the product being certified so that you can select the appropriate health cert and generate it accordingly. And Kevin Williams will give a presentation around that shortly. Jared McCallig then will provide insight and some tips on how to navigate the system, what you can be doing at the moment to prepare, what information you can have pre-entered in Traces. And this is also really important, not only giving people practice in using, which is quite a challenging system. It's an old system and is not as intuitive as the newer systems, and hopefully of the newer Traces NT system whenever it goes live. So it does require a bit of practice, and you need to be engaging with the system now. So at the moment, we're carrying out some internal trials on our processes from the point of application right through to veterinary sign-off. So these are internal trials just to see how the certification process is working and what it's like to engage with the Traces system. It will serve as a troubleshooting exercise, and we will share our learnings with yourselves from these as we go. We have carried out 2 already, and we have been hampered somewhat by some coding errors in Traces, which we will notify the Commission about. And we're starting with the simpler certs, the fresh meat certs, the preparation certs, the product certs, moving on to composite product certs, which are a bit more complicated, and then into the area of cold store consolidation and groupage. So we'll let you know how we're getting on with those as we go, and I'm sure there will be many learnings from it. I suppose to date, really, to say that there are still issues with the functionality with some of the certs on Traces, and that we'll have to try and work through those with the help of the Traces team and the Commission. Once we finish the internal trials, then we're moving on to end-to-end trials with GB, and these will involve customs, revenue, engaging with the IPAF system. We're also engaging with logistics companies on this to look at the groupage models, the consolidation model, where basically everything is brought to a central point for certification, and just to clarify things around what kind of backup documentation might be required at the consolidation hub to enable certification, and then looking at perhaps the sequential model, which is quite an onerous model and logistically quite difficult to implement, in that there needs to be a certifier at each point along the chain, along the product journey, who's in a position to break a seal and issue a resealing cert, and also certify the product that's being put on the load at that particular point. So that's quite a challenging model and is very resource heavy. And in speaking to some colleagues from GB, the linear model seems to be a model that has been favoured in some instances there, where the health cert is issued at each establishment along the route, and the pallets are actually sealed. So that model has proved quite effective in GB from the information we have at the moment. It's important to note that our first training webinar on Traces is available on YouTube. This is a follow-up webinar, and just to refresh your memories, it might be no harm to go into the gov.ie website and click on the link to it. Some of the dates there will be inaccurate because we were referring to the 1st of April, but if you replace the 1st of April with the 1st of October, you probably, the webinar is still very valuable, particularly the presentations given by Jared, Kevin and Michael Moran. There are also preparatory PowerPoint training modules available on registration, and they're also available on the gov.ie website and the Traces link. So without further ado, I think we'll move on to the presentations, and Kevin Williams will be the next presenter, and he is going to deal with CN codes and how to link them to the product being certified. So I'll hand you over to Kevin there now. Thank you, Kevin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin Williams. I'm working in the department, obviously. I have spent the last 32 years involved with traces. I have also worked in the meat industry in the factories down through my years as well. So I'm coming at it. I understand a lot of the issues that are arising at the moment. And as Lorna and Peter have previously said, we're trying to help you out as much as we physically can. And we're trying to get things like the CN codes and everything else sorted. For my part in this, I'm just going to go into the CN codes to show you what we're dealing with at the moment. Now, these CN codes are by no means ready yet, so we're hoping that they will be sorted out sooner rather than later. Having said all of that, I'm going to allude to the land bridge and the NT at the end very briefly before I'll hand you back to Peter. Now, I'm going to go in here. You can see my screen. So I'm going in here to the traces. I've just clicked on the new cert to do up a new cert. Now, this page, the nomenclature code page, is where all the certificate CN codes are that we use. I'm going to deal with two in particular as an example. Now, these two are only an example. These ones are in the main are working properly. Sections of them aren't still. But what I'm going to do is I want to click on, if you use the CN code 0202, this is for meat and bovine animals. Meat and bovine animals frozen. Now I'm going to click it down here and I'm going to put in the 0202. What happens is you can now see that the screen has now filled. On the right hand, on the left hand side, we have domestic. And here in the center, this is where we would want you to check the model. Okay, in this particular case, it's bovine fresh meat, minced meat of bovine from EU. That is the one that we want you would be using because it's principally the one that's working at the moment. What you simply do is you assign it and it's then ready to go. Now, I'm just waiting for my screen to go back and I'll go back into export health certificates again. Now, the 0203 is meat of swine, fresh, chilled, or frozen. Again, this one is working, and you can see it here now. Fresh meat for EU transit or storage. Now, as you will be principally going to into Britain, which years, you will be using the one here, porcine meat of domestic swine under that is from the EU. This is the one that you would be using. This is for meat going into the thing. You would simply assign that and click it. I'm not going to assign it. Now, again, in new, there are problems where some of the 6-digit ones are not working properly. Most of the porcine ones are working. All of these are working in the main. These are all working properly, but some of them are not. Now, for example, in the 0203, 0202, my apologies. When you go in here, if I go in here to the boneless, you'll see here Hong Kong comes up and Moldova. Those ones aren't. And yet, when I clicked on the 0202, just the 4 digits, it worked perfectly. So what I'm saying to you for the moment, until you are updated by the Veterinary Public Health, Peter and the section, you will use the 4-digit codes. It's much easier and it's much simpler. If you are having a problem in finding the certificate that you and you can find it here under the CN code, you're not sure what the CN code is, and you can't find it at all, come up here onto this page again where my cursor is flashing around. Come over here to the right hand side under the word model. Click the drop down menu, and here every export health certificate that has anything to do with the EU and third countries is listed. Now on the left hand side you can see CA. These are all in alphabetical order. These are export health certificates concerning Canada. Underneath it we have Colombia, and so on down along. And here you'll see they start with GB. And Great Britain, there's a whole pile of them. So what you must do is go down through the line that suits you. Now, if we are interested in the meat one of domestic swine model, click on that. And underneath here comes up the list of products that this certificate all deals with. What you do then is you go into meat and meat of edible offal, click the plus arrow, and so on down along. But for the moment, what we are recommending is that you use the first 4 digits that I have shown you there, the first 4 digits in the CN codes. In other words, the 0201. Now, some of the other certs, I'm not going to go into them, are not working properly at all. This is at present. We were in correspondence with the EU last week, and they have told us that the ones that are working and are up to date, in other words, the 4 and 6 digit codes, for example here, carcasses and half carcasses, 020110, those that are working properly are up, but no new ones have been put up. We're being updated as soon as they are. The final thing that I want to deal with is I just want to mention very briefly, some of you that are listening in today will be moving product from Ireland east, in other words, crossing the land bridge to go into Europe. You must complete a Traces NT certificate called a SHED, Common Entry Health Document, SHED P in your case. You must complete that to notify the French authorities or the Dutch or the Spanish. Now, the Spanish won't really apply, but particularly the French. You will have to notify the Spanish in advance that you are coming in. So you would want to make sure that you are up on Traces NT if you know that you're going to be crossing the land bridge. Now, that is my particular participation at the minute in this. So I'm going to hand you over to Peter now, if I may. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Kevin. From the department's point of view, it would be really, really important that you have a CN code, the correct CN code for all of your products. Whether you're doing pies, whether you're doing meat preps, whatever you're doing, that you have the correct CN code. If you have the correct CN code, life will be an awful lot easier for you when you come to the October the 1st. So you should do that work before October the 1st, not when you're floundering around in Traces after October the 1st, trying to get a cert written so that the truck can go.